Someone might pass me and I think, I want you to die.
I hate myself.
My head just felt like it was going to explode.
You're shit, you're crap. Look, there's your husband, he's all dressed up. He's dressed up for her, not for you.
I was 12 when I started to self-harm.
I do hear voices. Every time I would call anyone that I knew, I would hear the click of a revolver down the phone or gunshots going off.
I used to scratch myself with a safety pin on my hand, on my thumb, until it bled.
I found myself in a police cell.
I was out of control. My body had taken over.
My main breakdown in depression was when I was in my early 30s.
Yeah, lots of people come up to you going, you're brilliant, but also at the same time thinking I was a worthless piece of shit.
Took painkillers to make the pain stop, and then I realised, I think I've taken too many.
I was really frightened. I was really frightened.
I have planned suicides, you know, I have thought about how I'm going to do it.
I feel so unwell. I just want to die.
Make it stop.
I used to just stare into space and just be gone for a while. And my friends used to just be like, oh, Lily's a daydreamer and she's always away with the fairies. Well, I totally wasn't away with the fairies. I was in hell. Say I am walking along the street and a child comes in my direction. I might have this thought, which is oh my God, don't look at that child's bum. Because if you look at that child's bum, it's gonna get caught on camera, you're gonna get accused of being a pedophile, and it's gonna be awful. So then I'm like, don't look at that child's bum, don't look at that child's bum. But then maybe I feel like I have looked at the child's bum, or it might have looked on a camera like I've looked at the child's bum. So then I take the letter B for bum and I put it on a list. And I continue walking, and then I move past this family that are crossing my path. I end up going kind of close to them, so I'm worried I smell, that they've smelt me, so I take the letter S for smell. And then I don't know, so the dad smiles at me and is like, thanks, because I moved to the side. I smile back and I'm like, shit, was my smile really flirty? Does it look like I'm gonna try and wreck the family? And then I continue to walk off, but because I'm so stressed, I trip over my feet, which just makes me look like a freak. So then I take the letter W for walk, and then in my head, I'm going, BSSW, BSSW, BSSW. Does my stomach rumble? S for stomach, put it on the list. Do I accidentally catch a glimpse of myself in the mirror? V for vein, put it on the list. So then if you imagine how many letters you can have in a day, I mean, I could have hundreds.
A lot of my depression comes around self-loathing, around shame, and around guilt. How do I say this? There was a little bit of sexual abuse that went on as a kid. It's a little bit, not even compared to other people. Scoutmaster and stuff, which kind of weighed heavily on me for quite a long time. I was in the Cubs and we went on a week or 2 week sort of camping break. We would have to shower in groups of 5. It was a walk-in shower. And before that, all of us would strip off naked, and there would be 1 or 2 tennis balls would be thrown around. We were in a village hall, would be thrown around this village hall. And just imagine for a second, 50, 8, 9, 10-year-old boys naked, jumping, catching a tennis ball. It is the most horrendous, messed up scenario. And it was humiliating and it was shameful. And I remember getting home to my mum and dad and never telling them. I never told them. I think it certainly played a part in my depression. What happened to me at the age of 8 in the Cubs, I can see that as the starting point for it, because up until then, the memories I do have are generally quite happy. Even now, I can, you know, I feel embarrassed and ashamed talking about it. It was 35 years ago.
I was just a really angsty, distressed kid who didn't fit in. We were the only kids of colour, and we copped it every single day. We'd hear the chant, the N-word, nigger, nigger, as you got closer and closer. And then when we walked through the school gates, it started. They would punch us, hit us. This was like every day. This teacher came and sat down next to me, and I can see him now. He had white blonde hair. He sat down on the step next to me. I was crying and crying and crying. And he said to me, you know, you've got to toughen up. You've got to get used to this. You see, we don't really want black people in this country, so if you're going to have to be here, you have to get to... I was 9 years old, and I remember at that very moment, I thought, you are alone.
For years, I was smoking cannabis. We didn't know the effects of it. It was just like, we felt like growing up, it was one of them harmless drugs that you could probably smoke as much of it as you want and you'd be fine. And I think it was making me quite creative as well. We had this idea about, why don't we write our own film? Cut a long story short, we got it funded, and it came out, and it was really successful. Then I won a BAFTA.
And the winner is Adam Deacon.
That was surreal.
It's a win for the underdog, and it's a win for any young person out there that's trying to, that's got a dream to better themselves, and so this means a lot.
I felt like, things were just going so well at one point. I was in Hollywood, we were going out for all these meetings, and I was getting told, you're gonna be in this Hollywood film, you're gonna be in a Disney film. I spent 2 weeks there, I came back, and then called up my agent, he didn't even know who I was. So it was such a head fuck. And that's when it all started to just go a bit wrong.
My brain's so wonky anyway. Sometimes I can hallucinate, which has really frightened me quite a lot.
I've always known that there was something different about me.
I never felt I fit in. It's repetitive thoughts that come out of nowhere and everywhere.
I felt very alone because I didn't know what was wrong with me.
I just started feeling low. And then that low feeling became lower and lower and lower. And before I knew it, I didn't want to get out of bed. Tears would just start rolling down my eyes. I wasn't sleeping, smoking too much. My head just felt like it was going to explode, but it was just sadness. It was just this black cloud that was just living over me for months. And I lost it. I was writing nonsense on social media, but constant. Tweeting. People were like, bro, stop. Do we have to take your phone away? Do we need to take your computer away? What is going on with you, bro? I felt like there were people that I didn't know walking around my estate. Who are they? It was paranoia about people I didn't know trying to attack me. I had no awareness of what I was doing at the time. I couldn't distinguish between reality and make-believe. I just lost it.
My great-uncle had schizophrenia, which I only found out in later years. They never really told me that he had schizophrenia, but when we were visiting, when I was visiting him as a child, he would just sit in a chair. There wasn't any medication for people then, or any support for mental health, and so he used to just sit in a chair and talk to himself all day. I had difficulties at primary school in some ways. I felt like a bit of a weirdo. If there was a thunderstorm, I would put, it's a bit weird, but I'd put boots under the table legs and the chair legs, because I thought if we were sitting at the table, then we'd get electrocuted. And sort of all this sort of crazy stuff, even as a child. I've had what's known as psychosis quite a lot, which is when you see and hear things that aren't there. My lowest point was when my hallucinations had convinced me that my family were all dead and that I should take my own life. That was pretty low. From about the age of 21 to about 29, I would sleep at the foot of my mum and dad's bed to protect them, you know, even though it was me that was unwell. It was a sort of fear of losing them, I guess.
On the outside, things just looked like a pretty normal family. If you dug a bit deeper, it definitely wasn't so idyllic. My parents fought quite a lot, and I was kind of dealing with that by developing what I later found out was OCD. I've got a little sister. She's 5 years younger than me. She's been my best friend for a long time. I think my sister would have been about 2 or 3, and I must have been about 8. I used to be in my room, lying in bed, and then I would have this thought, which was, oh, what if she dies in her sleep? And what if her heart stops beating? I would continuously go up and downstairs and check on her and feel that her heart was beating. I would be counting her heart in sets of 3 to check that it was beating, and putting my hand in front of her face to check that I could feel her breath on my palm. And then I would also be kind of hovering above her bedside, like chanting, best sister ever, best sister ever, best sister ever. Because I really felt like if I repeated those words, then she wouldn't die in her sleep and she'd be protected from anything bad in the night. Sometimes I could just do it once, and then other times I might do it all night till like 3 in the morning. I really felt like I just had a broken brain.
As young as about 12 years old, I remember being so upset, I just thought, I wish I was dead. Which, as you get older, you start to think, you know, that's not really normal or healthy for a 12-year-old. Sometimes your mind can play tricks on you. I was terrified that there was going to be some sort of school shooting or a terrible accident. And I used to hide in the toilets at school, terrified for my life and for the lives of my friends. When your emotions are so intense for such a long period of time that your brain doesn't really know what to do with it, and it's like you're in a constant panic attack. That's how I can describe it. I used to scratch my thumb or my hand with a safety pin I had by my bed. I didn't know what self-harm was, and I wouldn't even have specified what I was doing as self-harm. I was just feeling so much, and I was so upset that the only way I felt I could get any sort of relief from it was by scratching my hand until it bled with this safety pin.
When you're young and on TV, you get lots of people come up to you going, you're brilliant, you're brilliant. And so I had this weird dichotomy of me thinking I was brilliant and a genius, but also at the same time thinking I was a worthless piece of shit at exactly the same time. After the 11 o'clock show, my career didn't go the way that I wanted it to go, but people that I worked with, namely Ricky Gervais and Sasha, in fact everyone that was on that show, everyone's career took off massively, and my career kind of faltered and sort of went off a cliff. And for a long time, I struggled with that. It created a lot of resentment. It sent me over the edge. It depressed me. It was depressing, you know, because that voice that tells me I'm worthless was going, aha, told you you were worthless. You thought you were going to go off to America and make movies and host quiz shows and stuff, but you're a piece of shit. And I told you that, and I was right.
I'm the Labour Member of Parliament for North Durham, and I've lived with depression for over 30 years. My main breakdown in depression was when I was in my early 30s. I was a local councillor in Newcastle. I worked for a trade union, had quite a good job, seemed to have good friends, good support networks. But things just got to a point where you think, what's the point in things? I was off work for nearly 6 months. When I was depressed, I wouldn't want to go out and talk to people because you think people are talking about you or think people know you're depressed. Acceptance that someone has had a mental illness would possibly be seen as a sign of weakness.
My major crash was in 1994. I was doing a nightly flagship news show. I was the presenter, the interviewer. Lot going on, and I'm pregnant, and then I find out husband is having an affair with my researcher. Your husband's shagging your, look at her. She's better than you. She's got more than you. She's going to take your house. She's going to take your kids. You're shit, you're crap. Look, there's your husband, he's all dressed up. He's dressed up for her, not for you, because you're ugly, you're horrible. He's told you you're ugly, get it through your head. So I just wanted it to stop. Never used to drink because I breastfed, but that night I had a couple of drinks and took painkillers to make the pain stop. And then I realised, I think I've taken too many. So I rang this really good friend of mine who was the doctor on the show, Dr. Rosie King, who saved my life.
When I was younger, a lot of my OCD was more physical. So, for instance, I might tap my feet a certain number of times, and I might tuck my hair behind my ears a certain number of times. And I remember that would be really comforting for me. So say I was in the car with my mum and dad and they're like absolutely screaming at each other and the car's like swerving all over the place because they're just like gonna kill each other. If I like tap my feet the right amount of times and tuck my hair behind my ears and everything feels kind of like sorted and okay, then I would feel a lot calmer about the whole situation. When I stopped doing the physical compulsions, the reason I stopped actually was because people were pointing it out, and I was just like, oh, right, I can't be doing something that's so externally noticeable because obviously the whole thing is I want to fit in. So then my OCD became much more mental. Well, the thing about the kind of really weird and strange thoughts is that with OCD, like a huge part for a lot of people is intrusive thoughts. And that's just like a thought that hits you just completely unawares, and often they're quite explicit or they're quite obscene. I might be walking down the street and someone might pass me who I don't know from Adam, and I think, I want you to die.
It was like a bomb had exploded in our lives. There's no question that the depression started postnatally. 2 small children. I actually love being at home with my little children, but a bit of me also wanted to be back at work. I work at the Times newspaper as a reporter. There was a constant requirement to come up with stories. Was your story on the front page? 12, 14-hour days. Where's the story? My head was always there. I just couldn't get to sleep. And I just started worrying. Just started to panic because I knew that if I didn't sleep, I wouldn't be able to function. And my thoughts were just running away with me. So if I didn't sleep, then I wouldn't be able to function. I wouldn't be able to get up. I wouldn't be able to look after the children. I wouldn't be able to get back to work. I'd lose the job. We'd lose the house. We'd lose the mortgage. When I was really unwell, I mean, I didn't really hugely think about the children. Yeah, it's really sad to hear that, actually. I was ill for around 2 years I know it was 2 years because I didn't do a school run for 2 years. And I think any parent watching will know how much they want to pick their children up from school. And our son, he was given a prize for bravery because his mum hadn't picked him up for 2 years. So it was a long time to be ill. Yeah.
Well, I'm 23 years old, and in some ways, I still feel like I'm a child. I really want to get out there in the world and experience it, but I feel like sometimes I just can't cope with the reality of that. I have this fear of being abandoned. When I was about 3 years old, 3.5 years old, my mum and dad separated. I think subconsciously, maybe that might be where it started. So it felt like a huge chunk of my life had gone with my dad. It felt like a part of me had gone. And sometimes I still feel like a bit of a broken person. People with borderline personality disorder have this reputation of not having a fixed identity. It's not that I don't have a personality, it's that how on earth do I begin to explain what my personality is when it changes all the time?
I think it started really early on, and I think I was quite depressed, certainly in my later teenage years. So yeah, depression was an early indicator of it, and then it developed into something else. I experienced schizoaffective disorder. It's a different experience of the world. It's like being in a parallel universe, I guess. So where everyone's experiencing one thing and you're experiencing something totally different. If I was trying to read a book, the pages of the book would change. So I would read Shakespeare, and rather than it's Shakespeare, which I'm really familiar with, it would be a totally different language. It would be a language I wasn't familiar with, English, but just a different meaning to everything. So a total different reality, I guess. I've heard voices coming over the radio, which is really frightening. It was John Humphreys, actually, who was talking all night on the radio. I was just hearing really horrible, insulting and personal things about me on the radio that weren't actually being broadcast, but had come out of my head, I guess. It was being really horrible and offensive to me in my hallucination. So I challenged it. I had a radio challenge where I stayed up all night, listened to the radio. After the shipping forecast in the morning, it stopped, but then by that time I'd had so little sleep that I was completely losing the plot and ended up going into hospital.
Some days I'd just sit in bed for days, like, and smoke weed until I made myself tired enough to go back to sleep because I just didn't want to face the world. Got me really frustrated, got me really paranoid, and it made me do things that I'd never normally do. I can't remember everything about it, but I had this sword in my flat. I just remember flashes of me talking to someone I've never seen before in the estate, and flashes of putting out a sword, which I regret.
It gets so intense that actually, like, there are no waking hours really where you're not kind of thinking relentless stream of mind babble.
It's things that are completely bloody irrelevant become insignificant in your life.
I'd start thinking, it's like a loop, and I call it skidding because it's like a tyre skidding in mud.
I'm scared of what my own brain makes me think sometimes. I can get so low that I think the most terrible things.
I found myself in a police cell, asking the police what the hell was going on. Like, why am I here? They're like, look, you've just pulled a sword out on someone. I'm like, what? I've done what? I don't remember any of this. Next thing I knew, I thought I was going home. They put me in a police car. And then we ended up at Mile End Hospital. It was a psychiatric ward. There was people suffering from all sorts of mental illness, schizophrenia, paranoia, seeing things. And so people were talking all sorts of crazy stuff. I remember feeling like, shit, this feels like prison. And when the hell am I getting out of here? I shouldn't be here. I wanted to get out. I was scared. I remember saying, look, man, if I can get you some money to get me out of this hospital, I'll get you some money and I'll pay you to let me out. And they were just like, bro, you're staying here until you're better. And then they said I had a weed psychotic episode, and I spent about 3 weeks in hospital.
When I've been psychotic, it's almost as if the world, the universe is sort of twisting in on itself, and what is real and what's not are sort of confused. Quite a few very vivid hallucinations, which have really, at the time, have frightened me quite a lot. Things that seem really normal or just really innocent in a day-to-day life could take on their own meaning or significance. So number plates of cars might change to reflect something frightening that I might feel. I've heard voices on the television that aren't actually there, and they seem directed to me. It's like walking around in a nightmare. One time I was crying and I was weeping, and every time I cried, the rain would come down. And when I stopped crying, the rain would stop. I was hearing gunshots down the phone whenever I spoke to my friends and family. And that was really distressing. So every time I would call anyone that I knew, I would hear the click of a revolver down the phone or gunshots going off. I felt I was really frightened. I was really frightened. But it was all a hallucination, you know? And that's what your mind can do to you. I didn't get diagnosed until I was in my 30s, and I'd been living with the condition for about, I suppose, since I was about 6 or 7, I guess.
You go through 100 different emotions, and it's absolutely exhausting, and that's every single day. Sometimes I think that life is the most beautiful thing ever, and I love it, and I feel so lucky to be alive. Hours later, it's so strange. I just feel like there's no point in anything, and that I'll never become anything or anyone, and there's no point in me being here. And sometimes I feel like none of it's even real in the first place. I find my emotions very difficult to regulate. I find life very tough to navigate. It's sort of like walking across an emotional minefield, and you never know what you're going to get. I don't really have a middle setting. I have a high point and a low point, and most people spend most of their time relaxing in that middle point. And they even find that boring. That baffles me when people say, oh, I'm so bored. And I think, bored? What does it feel like to be bored? It's very rare that I feel peaceful and relaxed, and I really crave that.
People say, well, everyone gets depressed. Well, no, they don't. People get down, and we have good days and bad days. But depression is when you get quite dark. You start with a thought. So the thought, you've dropped a milk bottle, it's an action. It smashes on the floor, you have to clean it up. When you're depressed, I would have actually asked the question, well, why did I do that? But then you ruminate on that, and it gets you then into quite negative thoughts about, well, I've dropped a milk bottle, therefore I'm useless. A perfect person wouldn't drop a milk bottle. And then it gets to a bigger thought. It's a question you keep asking yourself, but you never get an answer to. And that's the negative spiral of depression. It keeps going, it's a circular argument. You come back to the same question. I describe it like a snowball going down a hill, is because one small thought becomes a huge snowball. And that's because you send one small thought around and round your head all the time. We were having a debate in Parliament generally about mental health. I didn't have some great planned out strategy to speak about my own mental illness. I just thought, well, damn it, I'm going to do it.
In 1996, I suffered from quite a deep depression. Whether it affects how people view me, I don't know. I actually don't care now.
If I didn't speak, I'd feel a bit of a fraud. I think it only hit me about an hour afterwards when I thought, oh, damn, what have I actually done here? Because I hadn't realised that no politician had actually ever encroached this subject.
I was out of control. My body had taken over. I'd never felt so ill before. The whole of me was hurting. I remember thinking, gosh, maybe I'm having a heart attack. Something really weird's happening here. I can't control this heart. Total terror, stomach lurching, heart beating, mind racing, sick with worry. A lot of physical pain. You know, everything was hurting. The whole of me was hurting. I was screaming. I was really, really screaming.
I think I self-harm when the feelings are so intense. It feels like only a physical expression will do. I used to cut myself with a knife. Strange things like hitting myself. All those small ways of inflicting that pain on yourself. It provides a distraction when you feel suicidal. I suppose it's a release of all that emotion and all that upset and all that fear. I started to self-harm frequently as a way to cope, when really it was just making me worse and worse and becoming almost an addiction.
I do think back to the first school I went to as a really young child where I was quite badly bullied and I really didn't fit in. And I dreaded school, you know, be crying in the morning because I didn't want to go. You know, you get a bit like smashed about. And just stupid stuff, like I remember being told I had to cut my hair so that I could be in the gang. So I cut my hair really short and then they were like, and we were just joking and your hair looks really silly. In some ways, perhaps my OCD, it was kind of like a protective thing. I was like, I'm gonna make myself be liked. I'm gonna train myself to be like, to be great, to be the best, to be fantastic and liked and loved and all this stuff. Weird thinking about my childhood.
My depression has left me bedbound, you know, just can't get out of bed. My kids would come in and see me. I couldn't talk to my kids. And I just couldn't talk to them. I didn't want to look at them. And I would just wave them out. Not now, boys. That's painful to remember. The kids, they bring me so much joy, you know, because they're these little bundles of energy and sunshine and fighting and farting and bad jokes. Being a dad with it is tough.
I call it the depressions because there's more than one. I'd been running and running and running to escape all sorts of thoughts and what have you. It's 3 a.m., skidding, thoughts going over. You're filth, you're crap, you're no good. Look at you, look at you. You think you're all that, you're on TV, you think you're a big shot. Next thing I knew, I had a knife in my hand. I'd hacked at my wrist, hacked. I still don't have all feeling in my arm. It took me almost a year of physio I did not see that as suicide. I saw that as make it stop.
I thought, well, you know what? I've done what I can. I've given birth to these two boys. You know, they've got each other, and they've got my husband. I'm out of here. I feel so unwell. I just want to die. It sounds really, horribly sort of unmaternal to say it, but I wasn't in any fit state to look after them. So I was very much up in my bedroom and they were down in the sitting room, in the kitchen, and we led separate lives. I had a very easy way to kill myself because I had the drugs. I've had it. I want out.
I was out walking the dog, and we were in these woods, and the woods were getting thicker and thicker, and I just thought, fuck, this is like really off the beaten track. I could get a bit of rope and I could hang myself here, and no one would find me for ages. And I really allowed myself to go off into this fantasy of where I was going to get the rope from, what kind of thickness would I need, what sort of tree would it be? That doesn't look strong enough. That one looks like it could, but that's too near the path. I need to go deeper and deeper. As I was thinking, I just started crying, but really, really just fucking sobbing, man. And howling and thinking, fuck, I really want to go through with this. I can see this as an option. I was howling and I was in tears, but I felt a little bit of peace. And that was what was scary, was the peace that I felt. And it was that peace and calmness that I started to feel that was terrifying.
I just really hated life and I just wanted it to stop. I just wanted my head to be quiet, and if you're dead, your head's quiet. I was just done.
I have planned suicides, you know, I have thought about how I'm going to do it.
Maybe I oughtn't be here at all. Maybe I shouldn't be on this planet. Maybe I should be dead.
I was in quite a suicidal and desperate state.
When I feel suicidal, it is like looking into just a dark void. It's the darkest thing ever, but there's always a little bit of light around the edge. And this time there was no light around the edge. I was staring into blackness, the purest blackness I have ever seen. And it felt attractive, and it felt beautiful, and it felt seductive, and it was terrifying. That was in the woods. That was a couple of years ago. Up until that point, when I'd felt suicidal, I'd always gone, yeah, but what about your kids? You're right, what about the kids? And that was terrifying, that barrier had gone. That barrier didn't exist. That wasn't enough. The kids weren't enough at that moment. And that's when I knew I was fucked. And that this was actually, it was a reality that could happen. And that's why instinct kicked in. I got my phone out and dialed the Samaritans. And I told them how it was making me feel. And as soon as I said it to another human being, it just started to come down a little bit. Like pulling the plug out of a bath as it's overflowing. Just as soon as I told them I'm in the woods and I'm fantasizing about killing myself, that moment had gone and I knew that I was safe.
I was in hospital for 5 weeks. I didn't know I was on suicide watch, and I went into the nurses' station and I was looking at all the colours on the board. I thought, I wonder what they mean. Oh, there's my name. Red. What's red? Suicide watch? And the really wonderful thing about suicide watch is when you're sleeping, every 15 minutes, a nurse comes round and shines a torch into your eyes and asks if you're awake. And you wake up and you say no, and then they know that you're not dead.
They diagnosed me with bipolar, and it kind of made sense. I think acting was an escape. There was violence towards my mum, 1 minute it would be calm in the house, 1 minute it would be like World War III. All hell would break loose. And so your emotions are like kind of going up and down. I remember feeling safe 1 minute and then not feeling safe another minute. And when I look back, I think there were issues there. Not being able to sleep properly. Sometimes I wouldn't sleep because my mum and my stepdad would be arguing all night. I ended up blaming my mum for a lot of it because I felt that why didn't she put a stop to the violence, and I couldn't work it out. We didn't have any counsellors dealing with mental health or dealing with social problems outside school. I remember going to the police at one point, saying to the police, look, this is going on in my house. And they said to me, well, unless your mum's gonna do anything about it, we can't do anything.
I was only kind of half functioning or concentrating. I just remember going to our local psychiatric hospital, and that was the very first time someone mentioned the word depression. I was absolutely amazed, because also I absolutely didn't think I was the sort of person that could ever have a mental illness.
I had gotten myself into a real mess. The GP said, it sounds like OCD. And I sort of was like, what are you talking about? Like, are you still with the patient before? Like, this isn't OCD. OCD is about liking things just so. It's about order and tidiness, and I'm the messiest person I know. You're nuts. She's referring me to a psychiatrist. I'm like, I think you need to go. I was 16 and I just thought, I don't have OCD. Like, sorry, that's me squeaking on my chair. That's OCD, actually. I'm worried that you're all going to think I farted.
I have been on antidepressants for, it's quite a long time. But I've been on and off them 15 years. They've got really shit side effects that make you, is there a delicate way of saying this? No, there's not. You can't come. You know, you just can't come.
I think people are very frightened of someone who's got a mental health condition in some ways, but they shouldn't be. I've never been violent. I'm generally quite kind to people, I hope.
My dating life is pretty much non-existent, to be honest, and I wish it wasn't. When you have BPD, things are so all or nothing. I really do worry about what being in a relationship would do to my brain. You don't want to go right in there with, hi, I'm mentally ill and I get terribly suicidal some days. How are you? Like, that just feels really odd.
I am so much better now than I was before. Being able to tweet something from the work account without checking it loads of times so that I'm not gonna tweet like saggy granny tits are coming to Surrey or just something career ending. And then like just sending that tweet out and just being like, yeah, I'm just doing my career, doing my thing.
Finding new ways of coping with it, finding replacements for the weed. I bought myself a dog. I go for long walks now with my dog, and I find that helps.
Look, I'm bonkers. Put it out there, I'm bonkers. I felt that I didn't want to be on this planet twice. I was just thinking the weird thing is that when I got told I had breast cancer, and then when I got told it had spread somewhat, I was like, shit, I want to live.